I'm John Delaurier, owner of Delaurier Roofing and co-founder of Powerline, and you are listening to the Only Roofers podcast.
Welcome to the Only Roofers podcast. My name's Elizabeth, and today I am interviewing John from Delaurier Roofing. Is that how you pronounce it correctly?
It's a hard one. Sometimes I forget. It's
Okay.
Delaurier Roofing, and we're in Athens, Georgia.
How has it been with customers pronouncing your company name? Have you ever found that to be a challenge?
It definitely is. So in the beginning of just building the business and coming up with the name, it was definitely a hard decision, but in the end, customers see that it's kind of a weird name, and they remember it. They can't say it, but they at least remember that it's that unique kind of a name.
And how does that feel now with so much marketing promotions being made towards you need to have the best name possible? How does that feel? Having a name that's not necessarily the easiest to say, but it's definitely memorable.
Sure, yeah. So even our logo is very simplistic. It's more about that branding of the reputation that we had that we always wanted. We wanted that customer experience to be the best. So Delaurier Roofing is something that we will always have to tell people. But in the end, what we're finding over the past, we're now in our 6th year of business, people around my market actually know how to say my name now. So it's really rewarding.
That's amazing. So tell us about how did you get into roofing? What made you start your own company?
Sure. So I've been in sales a long time.
What'd you sell?
I've owned a landscape company for about
Ooh.
a decade. I've been an insurance agent as well.
Wow.
And I've worked for other roofing companies.
Very hated in this industry.
Very hated, very hated. But also helpful. But getting into roofing, I started roofing very early. On mission trips, I was roofing for all kinds of people, just learning how to do the basic, carry the shingles up. We were hand driving, and that's how my roofing journey really started. And then I would roof for people just on the side, growing up. And after working for a couple different roofing companies, I went out on my own in 2016, and we've been growing ever since.
Wow. And so 2015, 2022, what has it been like creating your team? Who's helping you run the company? Are you working with your wife? Tell us a little bit about how your company works today.
Sure. So we're in Athens, Georgia. We're a pretty small town, a college town. We have a really small team. I use a virtual assistant.
Okay, cool.
And she is amazing. She actually lives in Pennsylvania, but she helps me every single day manage. And then we really rely on technology. So we rely on software like SumoQuote, Company Cam, Job Nimbus. Those softwares have really helped me organize the business and actually create systems so that we can take a customer from initial inquiry all the way to the final invoice.
What is your favorite part of not just having a roofing company, but working with the homeowner, right? You said you want to focus on customer experience. What is that focal point of the customer experience for you?
So I want to communicate not just that we can do a good job, but that they do really have a good experience. They see that trust from the beginning, and they feel that trust through the process, and then at the end, they want to write a 5-star review. So it's really important to me that the customer, we have a lot of reviews for customers who've never written a review, and they
Wow.
They love our service so much. Our crew is amazing. We've used the same crew on every single job for
Wow.
the whole now 6 years.
Wow.
So it's really important to me that not just I have a good experience as a business owner, but my crew also really enjoys working with me.
There's something to be said about loyalty for sure. Do you think some of the values that you have come from being a previous insurance agent? Did you kind of have a different perspective coming into the industry when you decided to start your own company?
Sure, I really do. A lot of times, if I'm inspecting a roof, I will actually call the agent that had us out there. They'll refer us, and I'll tell the agent that, hey, there's no damage here, and so that has actually enhanced our reputation because the homeowners are confused because they're seeing a bunch of storms, and we're preventing a lot of insurance fraud actually that's happening in our market.
Wow.
And so it's really good because the homeowners, the insurance agents are trusting us to be, so when there is damage, we're able to actually take care of that for the homeowner.
That's definitely a unique approach. What made you have that mindset, and like how do you scale that, right? With new sales reps that you're bringing in, how do you train them to have that mind that you have from your insurance agent background?
Sure. So software like Company Cam really helps. So if we document it, like a new sales rep looking at it saying, hey, this is not damaged, don't try to push this to get them to file. We're not even an insurance roofer. We're a retail company.
Wow.
But we do a lot of insurance work indirectly. So we treat insurance work like retail anyway, but we do definitely get called for these. So for any insurance work, but in general, technology helps us keep our team accountable.
What do you mean by that, right? That's a very interesting point, and I see a lot of that coming up more and more in conversation. We treat insurance work even like a retail job. What is that difference, that retail job of the sales process versus that insurance claims process when it comes to selling?
Sure. So it's super controversial, but leaving money on the table for supplementing and things like that, we actually gain trust from our customers by giving them an estimate up front. We don't even use Xactimate.
Wow.
We know the rates generally in our area for Xactimate, but we use Sumo Quote. We give them a price up front. We give the good, better, best options.
So you do a retail proposal,
we do.
even if it's going to be an insurance
That's
claim.
right. So we actually, when a lead comes in, we pre-qualify them. So they may come in through the website or through Ruby Receptionist, but Tisha, my office manager, will then further pre-qualify them before the meeting. I even go out there. Or
What are you looking for at this stage?
We're looking for the
Because some people are just like, wow, we got a lead.
That's right. So we've recognized that over the past few years, our number of estimates has gone down, but our quality and our close rate has increased because we're establishing with that prospect that we're actually on the same page. We're not just getting tire kickers, we're actually getting people who are interested in replacing their roof, or at least want an honest opinion about, do I have storm damage or not? So we're really hammering that pre-qualification process so that myself or any sales rep doesn't waste time going out there for somebody who wants something that we don't even offer.
Mm-hmm. And then what would be your next step?
So once they're pre-qualified, our automations, we actually have a software called Powerline, and it automates like the speed to lead process. So
Wow.
the customer's getting notified automatically. Then once that appointment has been set, we start the Sumo Quote, the Eagle View gets ordered. By the time a sales rep even gets to the customer's house, we've already finished the estimate. So all we have to do is fly
Wow.
the drone, take the pictures, upload the Sumo Quote, proposal's there. We do, depending on the customer, we do in-home. We don't do a first-time sale, but we do a sales presentation.
What does your sales presentation typically look like?
Super simple. So we'll go through, we use the Atlas, all the Atlas products. So we use Pinnacle Pristine, and we'll walk.
Shout out to Atlas, great product.
Yep. And so we've always loved working with Atlas, and the Scotch Guard warranty has been kind of our product differentiator in our market because no one else is using it in our market. So that part's great. We go through the roof replacement process and educate the customer from that. Once that's done, we ask the customer what stage of the sales cycle they're in or the decision-making process. If they're ready to make a decision then, or they say, hey, I've got a couple more estimates, we don't ever push.
And would you say that maybe that's a missed opportunity? Is there a reason why you're choosing not to push? Maybe, they do choose another contractor who's not as good as you because maybe you guys didn't push. That's always, I feel like that's another perspective we don't talk about too much either.
Absolutely. Super controversial. Definitely. So I started the business and I've always been in sales. I sell how I want to be sold to.
Yeah.
So our close rate, numbers don't lie. Our close rate's at 64% now.
Yeah.
That's using all of our systems and processes. Like today, I lost 2 roofs today.
Wow.
I'd love to have those roofs, right? I also sold a big roof today.
Yeah.
So that's just real life
Yeah.
for me. So
Matter of perspective.
that's right. So, and the closer, more no's I get, the closer I get to yes. And we've been consistently in the 64 to 67% close rate for over a year now.
What are you using to get your numbers report? Because we all hear about KPIs, but how many of us actually monitor and track them and use that to fuel our business process?
Sure. So Job Nimbus has really great reports you can build. We work in quarters, so we're generally trying to track 3 months at a time. But where I get my close rate is from Sumo Quote. The dashboard on Sumo Quote is super easy to see. It's something I check every day to make sure where we're at. And it's something that I'm always looking at for that. That specific KPI is important to me because then I can determine my my CAC, my cost to acquire a customer, and then my close rate. It goes up or down depending on weeks and months, but it's generally we're about 2 out of 3 right now.
As a roofing contractor, right? You have a lot of different background. There's a lot of different guys that I meet that don't know these numbers, these acronyms, all these KPIs that they should be tracking. How did you find all of this information out? Did you get any kind of training? What happened that made you say, hey, my customer acquisition cost matters. My customer lifetime value matters. My lead acquisition costs matter. How did you decide to learn all this stuff?
Sure. So I am not a numbers guy. I'm not. I was a terrible student in school. All those things that I'm saying I've learned from reading, from a lot of podcasts.
Favorite book?
Right now, I actually am reading The Visual Sale by Marcus Sheridan. That's a great one, and They Ask You Answer. I'm kind of in that Marcus Sheridan kind of world right now, trying to work on that content part of it. So I'd say They Ask You Answer is probably my favorite right now.
So, big recommendation for you if you want to learn numbers, statistics, and KPIs for your business. Anybody out there, there's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. Highly recommend all of his books for any entrepreneur out there. It really just talks about statistics, measuring data, and how you can use statistics to grow your business 10x every single year, healthy.
Awesome.
Healthy, yeah, and maintaining that customer service. So, just a little side note there. So, share with us evolving as an ex-insurance agent in the roofing industry. Have any of your local competitors maybe try to throw jabs at you because of that, or how was that?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a mutual respect for our competitors, but we really don't operate under focusing on our competition.
Of course.
Yeah, like there's a lot of that kind of jabs, like, hey, people say I wasn't even an agent, and I've had billboards about, so I don't know. There's a lot of things in the roofing space.
How was it with dealing with roofers as an agent?
It was really tough. So I didn't see the claim side as much, but I definitely saw a lot of like, hey, this is some mechanical damage that shouldn't be. There's a lot of that fighting, kind of in my time being an agent, but I knew I wanted to change that.
Yeah.
I knew as a roofer, I was going to be the light, the shining light, I guess, in those agents' lives compared to all the other roofers that they have to deal with. Because you can just tell they tense up when a roofer's calling, like,
yeah.
Hey. And so over the years, it's been easy, though, because it's like, oh, good, he's calling and not the other guys are calling.
So what would be your top, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 tips for a roofer on how to deal with an insurance agent?
Yeah, so just do the right thing. Like, if there's damage, there's damage. If there's not, there's not. If you think it's on the edge, just be honest with the agent. Be honest with the adjuster. We've actually adopted, when we know it's insurance, our company policies, we don't even get on the roof before the adjuster gets there. And I have told adjusters that, hey, I've never been on the roof. And how do you have these pictures? Because we flew a drone. And we'll circle the hits. We'll mark all the wind damage with company cam drawings. And the more adjusters I tell that to, hey, we intentionally don't get on the roof because we want you to know, we want to be beyond reproach that we didn't damage this roof.
Yeah.
Wow. Especially when I can tell.
That's a very unique approach. Not getting on the roof, just so you can tell the insurance agent at the end of the day, there was no damage that we caused on this system.
Yep.
That's very a powerful statement there.
Yep. And you can tell. I mean, you can tell. You can walk up a valley and you're like, all the tabs on the valley are pulled up and nothing else in the rest of the roof. So you know, it's just one of those things. We never want to be blamed for anything like that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So any final tip for someone who may be looking at this video and wants to get inspired? Maybe they are starting their company or maybe they're growing their company and want to look for some different approaches. What would be your suggestion?
Yeah, so get get with a coach, find a coach that can help you kind of, do those main things you have to do. You have to sell work, you have to do work, you have to keep score, you have to make sure your accounting's in order, your production, your sales are all in order. That's where I'd start. Find a coach. There's a bunch of good ones out there, and then work on the marketing, work on everything else after that. That's the first thing I'd do if I was starting a roofing company right now.
Alrighty, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, John. It's truly a pleasure. How do I pronounce your name properly so I can end the podcast?
Delaurier.
Delaurier. Delaurier.
Delaurier.
You know what? Say Calcedilla.
I can't even say it.
So, we're even.
There you go.
Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Only Roofers podcast, and we look forward to catching you on the next one.